Hey guys, welcome back. Today, what we're going to talk about is we're going to shift gears from what is a crime and defining different types of crimes to start kind of looking into a little bit of the meat of what the criminal justice system actually even looks like here in America. Okay, and so for this interval, we're going to kind of focus on a couple different things. Okay, one, what happens to an individual from time of investigation to arrest to questioning, all that sort of stuff. And then specifically, we're going to be focusing a lot on your rights in dealing with the criminal justice system, specifically due process and search and seizure. And we'll hop into that a little bit here today. Okay. So, what I'm going to go through here really briefly is, like I said, once again, what happens for an individual once they enter into the criminal justice system, all the way through once they exit. And I'm going to go through about 5 or 6 different steps. The key ones that we're going to focus on are obviously going to be search and seizure. So once again, feel free to stop it, pause it, jot any notes down as we go through. They will certainly help you as you go through your activities for the week. Okay. So first thing that obviously must happen, for cops to show up, somebody must call them. Okay? Police officers don't just show up just to show up. And even then, even if you call the cops and you have an issue or complaint, they must agree to investigate that case. Now, in most situations, that'll be your local municipal police department. They'll run most investigations. That's like the Bettendorf City Police or Davenport City Police. If you got a bigger crime, that's where one of these federal law enforcement agencies could get involved, such as the FBI, the DEA, Secret Service, et cetera, et cetera. We'll deal with those guys a little bit more when we get to our next interval, okay? Now, here's the key part where I want you guys to jot this stuff down. This is what the entire interval is really going to be about. In order for police officers to stop and talk and to investigate and to arrest and to gather evidence, they must have one of these two things. The two important things that you need to know is a reasonable suspicion and probable cause, okay? So here's what these are. It's simple. Reasonable suspicion is when an officer of the law has reasonable belief that some sort of crime may be happening, or some individual may be involved in a crime of itself. This doesn't necessarily mean the officers have tangible evidence. It just means that they have a reasonable belief that you could be engaged in a crime. Now, all this does is it allows officers the ability to stop and talk to you. Okay? You're not under arrest. You're not in any sort of trouble by any means. But if officers think that you might be involved in a crime, they do have the right to stop and talk to you. For example, if there's a case where we've got some car theft going around, and somebody sees a car theft and they describe the individual who stole the car as somebody who's 6 feet tall, they've got a yellow sweatshirt and a backwards hat. Police officers, if they do come across someone on the streets who meet that description, they are allowed to stop and talk to you. Now, do you necessarily have to talk to the officers? Not entirely. They do ask you for your identification name. You must provide it. Okay? Now, after they've stopped and talked to you, the next key piece is this thing called probable cause. A probable cause means that officers have a reasonable belief and have actual evidence to believe that you have committed a crime or you were involved in a crime. And the key difference between probable cause and reasonable suspicion is that probable cause allows those police officers to either search you, search your stuff, whether it be your car, a backpack, house, whatever it may be. They can seize, meaning take any evidence that they find in that area if they believe that it's evidence against you in a case. And they can also arrest you at that point as well. When officers have probable cause, doesn't mean that they have a warrant. They have actual evidence to believe that you are involved in a crime, and then they can put you under arrest. Now, just because you're under arrest doesn't mean you're always going to be actually charged with something. That'll come later when we talk about some of that stuff in our fourth interval when we're talking about the court system. Just because someone is under arrest doesn't mean they're actually going to be criminally charged. Okay? More often than not, they will be. Okay? Now, what allows officers to have probable cause. There's 9 different reasons, and these are outlined in that Fourth Amendment information document that I posted on Google Classroom. It's going to give each of these 9 a little bit more background information to kind of help you understand. But these are the different things that essentially could allow an officer to arrest you without a warrant, without a written order from a judge to do so. Okay? Every time that there is a legal and lawful arrest, the officer has the right to search you and or the surrounding area, whether it be your car, once again, whether it be your house, your backpack, etc., etc. Okay, number 2 talks about stop and frisk, and you're going to see this when you do your live PD ed puzzle. Officers are allowed to pat you down for their own safety to make sure you don't have any weapons. Okay. Number 3, if you give consent to search something, the officers are certainly allowed to do that. Officers may say, hey, do you mind if I search your car? Hey, do you mind if I search your bag? If you say yes, they are legally allowed to do so. Okay. Number 4 is all about plain sight or plain view. If officers can see or hear something, maybe they see something in your car that looks like maybe a weapon, that does give them the opportunity to search it. Okay. If officers are ever in hot pursuit, number 5, meaning they're chasing a suspected criminal down, and that individual runs into somebody's house or another place of business, officers don't need to get a warrant to hop into that house or hop into that business. Okay. Number 6, in terms of vehicles, this is all along the lines with consent and legal arrests. If officers are going to search your cars, they need consent to do it. Okay. If there ever is some sort of criminal emergency where officers need to hop into your house or hop into your car because maybe someone's life is at risk, they're certainly allowed to do that. Obviously, number 8, if you're at the border at the airport, you automatically surrender your right to be free from illegal search and seizures. You essentially give those places the opportunity to search through all of your stuff, no questions asked. And last thing, number 9, and this is more for you guys on the schools, police officers do not need probable cause to search your stuff on school grounds. They only need reasonable suspicion. So whether it be your locker, your backpack, your car, officers do have the right to search that as long as it is on school grounds. Okay? Make sure you have these 9 down. They're in that Fourth Amendment information document. You're going to use these to help answer the questions on the search and seizure scenarios. When you get to that assignment, if you think officers had a legal right to search, seize, and or arrest an individual, you must provide one of these 9 reasons of why they were allowed to do that. Okay? So make sure you got these jotted down someplace. Make sure you know where they're at. Study them. They're going to make that assignment go a lot faster. Okay? All right. Shoot. Wait, no, we're still on it. Okay. Now, after you've been arrested, this is the one that you guys all probably know is if you're under arrest, you are going to be given your Miranda rights, your Miranda warning. This is probably the thing you've seen in movies and TV shows and whatnot. It's pretty simple. 1, you've got the right to remain silent, meaning you don't have to talk. You're free from self-incrimination. You're free from saying something that might get you into a little bit of trouble. Because anything you say or do can and will be used against you in a court of law. Number 3, you have the right to an attorney, and you have the right to have him present when you're being questioned. If you can't afford one, the state will give one to you. Okay? And you can exercise these rights at any time and choose not to talk to officers. Okay? Now, after you've been arrested, you've been given your rights, a couple different things are going to happen. You're going to be taken to the station. You're going to be booked. This is where you got your fingerprints taken. You get a picture taken, and background information is given about you. And that's where you get your little lovely mugshot over here, like this wide neck guy. Okay. Also, you may be given the opportunity to post bail. If a judge allows you to, you may pay some sort of cash amount to be released from jail. Okay. Now, there's a little bit that goes with bail, and I'm not going to go into it today because we're going to do something with this in our next interval. But you only need to post 10% of whatever is ordered by the judge, and then you'll have a bail bond company that'll pay the rest. It's kind of like a loan, but we'll get into our next interval. Okay? After you've been booked, this is where you're actually officially charged with a crime. An individual known as a prosecuting attorney, they are the ones who decide whether or not to actually have you go stand in front of a judge and face your crimes. Okay, for more severe cases, they may use this thing called a grand jury, where they leave it anywhere up to 16 to 23 members to make that decision. Okay, they all just need to decide whether or not there's actual enough evidence to even charge you with a crime. Once again, we'll get more into this when we get into our third interval. Okay, now they can offer you a plea deal or a plea bargain. That's the prosecuting attorney and the judge. Usually it's in return for some sort of you make a deal. Once again, we'll get to this one down the road a little bit. All right. After that happens, you'll have your trial. We have a whole another interval about this. If you're found guilty, you will be sentenced to some sort of punishment, whether it be jail, prison, probation, whatever it may be. We'll get more into that into our fifth interval. And then the last thing is you must do your punishment. Like I said, that can be anything from a simple fine all the way up to the death penalty. Okay, and so those are kind of the big 5 steps that I want you guys to take a gander at. Once again, we'll go into some of these a little bit more detail in our class times and other screencasts down the road. But what I really want you guys to focus on is these 9 reasons or these 9 exceptions that allow police officers to give an individual probable cause to make an arrest. Now, I do have the Ed puzzle as the first assignment. That should help you understand search and seizure, probable cause, reasonable suspicion. But also make sure you read that Fourth Amendment information document. Study these 9 different reasons. They are going to help you with that second activity where you have I think there's about 13 or 14 different scenarios that you got to answer. Okay? And so that's all I got for you guys today. Have a great rest of your day. As always, if you have any questions, feel free to shoot me an email. All right, thanks.